Hey guys, Technomentary here with a video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the iPad mini 4 in mid 2021 and take a look at everything from hardware, software, and if it's worth buying still in mid 2021 and the rest of the year. We're going to break all of that down for you guys in this video from one end to another. But before we go ahead and get started, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys are on the market for a phenomenal device at a discounted price, whether it be iPad, iPhone, make sure you guys check out the link in the description section. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about the iPad mini 4 here in mid 2021. As you can see here, we have the gold edition one. Of course, this one you can also get it in the silver edition and the space gray edition. This is the Wi-Fi only model, and there's also the cellular model, which has a line up here that indicates the cellular model. So this is the Wi-Fi edition model, released in 2015 of September, and right now in mid 2021. Of course, this iPad was actually discontinued by Apple in March of 2019. So it's been over 2 years since Apple has discontinued, and the reason why Apple discontinued almost 4 years after the release date was because iPad mini 5 was released. There is no mini 6 here, which also there's some rumor that Apple might be releasing the mini 6 later this year. The one thing that was kind of surprising from Apple is that after 4 years later, since the mini 4 came out in 2019, the mini 5 came out. So not sure if mini 6 will be delayed or not, since it's been almost 2 years since the mini E5 was released. So that's kind of timeline for you to kind of understand where this iPad is coming from. Other thing to note, some of the top features of the iPad mini 4 is that you have these speaker down here below. These are the stereo great speaker you have. You also have the fingerprint home button, which wasn't evident in some of the earlier generation of the iPad here. So you do have that Touch ID home fingerprint integration. You also have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, as you can see right here up top. So if you're wondering if you're still attached to having that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack where you don't mind using both the dongles and such, still has that. Also have things like Siri enable on this device. As you can see here, we update to iOS 14 and Siri is popped up right there as well. You have things like Apple Pay as well that are supported if you're on the go using your SIM card and such for the data. And this is where you can pretty much make this a device either to be at home or on the go if you get the cellular model, because you can get data on the go, use it for or all of that and much more on this device. So those are some of the top features. Of course, the iPad itself here, it has a unique design to it. It's the mini edition of it. It's not full size. As you know, the mini is the reason why it's only a 7.9 display, bigger than most of the standard 7-inch display Android tablets out there on the market. It does have a phenomenal 2840 E8 by 1536 resolution at 326 pixel to it. It's fully laminated display and also has an anti-reflective coating on it and a fingerprint resistant coating on it. So if you're touching it, doing a lot of work on it, you won't get as much smudge and that reflection. When you're more bright area, you won't have that issue when you're going in some of the more bright areas out there. And let's talk about the hardware of this device. That's probably the important part about it. It does have an A8 chip on it here with the 64-bit architecture and the M8 motion coprocessor along with it. So in terms of kind of give you a comparison on the newer lineup of the iPhone and the iPad, as you almost see with the mini 5 here, which is the A12 Bionic chip, which on the iPhone side, if you're looking at a 12 Pro, they have the A14 Bionic chip. So in chipset in the iPad world, it's 4th generation behind for the processor. In iPhone, of course, 6 years. So that's a good kind of comparison for you guys. If you think about the iPad here, a good comparison, because it was released in 2015, probably compares to the iPhone 7 lineup to a degree, a little bit into the 8, but 7 lineup. So if you're thinking, if you never owned the iPad, where does the mini 4 fall in? That's where it falls in. It falls in to the iPhone 7 and 8 category lineup, because those phones also get iOS 14 update. As you can see here, we're updated to iOS 14 here on this device. Let's talk about the camera of this iPad that we have here. So if you look at the camera here, a couple things. The back camera here does have a 8 megapixel camera. So if you're looking at this camera here, that tiny camera that we have here, it is able to do photography in 8 megapixel. You also have things like autofocus, panorama, up to 43, and then auto HDR for photos. In terms of video recording on this device, it is actually able to record in 1080 pixel HD video recording at 30 frames per second. So if you're looking for video recording, well, it's only going to be able to give you 1080p, not 4K as some of the newer Apple products that we've seen that has. It also has slow motion of video up to 120 frames per second. You have things like time elapse as well as option, panorama mode, and all of that comes with this iPad in terms of the camera. And if you're talking about the front facing camera, a couple things in the front facing camera is that it's able to record in 720 HD video recording, which is similar to most of the iPad line, most of the iPad lineup you have, even on MacBook. Even some of the newer MacBook in 2020 MacBook release, they also had a 720 pixel camera. So camera wise, Apple doesn't seem to be in a rush to update their front facing camera in that way. The one thing we kind of don't like about the iPad mini 4 is that it has a 1.2 megapixel photo camera, so that seems like it's really lacking, especially if you're trying to take some absolutely looking to do a lot of selfie. You may not find your selfies being as crystal clear as some of the newer iPads or iPhones out there in the market. And let's talk about the power, the battery of this device here. As you can see here, that's probably important, especially for a tablet. You want to know what kind of power you're going to get in terms of your battery. Well, the Wi-Fi model, if you're doing specifically surfing the web on Wi-Fi, watching videos, or just listening to music, expect to get around 9 to 10 hours. 10 hours is what Apple says, but if you're doing a lot more, probably what is realistic is getting around 7 to 8 hours. And then if you have the Wi-Fi plus the cellular model, you're going to get 9 hours. That is what Apple rated. Probably going to get around 6 to 7 hours is probably idealistic, but nonetheless, on a full charge, if you're really using it, it probably lasts you through the whole day. No issues on that front. And let's move on to the operating system or the software aspect of this phone. As we mentioned on this iPad is that it does get iOS 14, which is probably the bigger selling point in 2021, because iOS 14 was released last year in 2020, and later this year they're going to release iOS 15, which unfortunately this iPad will not be able to update to iOS 15, as you know. And you'll notice here with iOS 14, you get a lot of things like multitasking and being able to do a lot more with it. And it's irrelevant. That's the only reason probably why it's relevant. As you can see here, we're able to download pretty much all of the popular games and apps. Oh, no issues there, of course. If you're looking for it to be a social media iPad, of course, it's able to download all of your popular apps like Snapchat, Twitter. As you see, things like Snapchat here, it recognizes it to be in the mobile form. Of course, you have Facebook, Messenger. If you're looking for a device for communication, of course, you can also use iMessage and all of that to message using your Apple account here, even TikTok and all of that. As you see here, if you're looking to get on these devices for social media, of course, social media, it's great for that. And let's talk about other aspect it's great for. It's great for also for watching your favorite shows and movies as well. Here, if you see, we have Netflix open. Of course, you can use Disney Plus, Hulu, all of those popular, whatever your favorite platform is for streaming videos, movies, and shows. YouTube, of course, by default will run, no issues there. As you can see here, we opened up the YouTube app. Once it gets going, you're able to fly and start watching your favorite show, listening to music. Of course, with those stereo speakers that it has, music wise, it does a really good job as well in terms of being able to stream music and listen to music as well. In terms of a productivity tool, you're able to do this a lot with the iPad mini 4 in 2021, if you're looking to edit documents, use it for maybe your Google Classroom, or just using it for to look at your class notes, taking online classes. You're able to do that with this device in 2021, so you're not going to have any issues with that. Even if looking to take online classes using like things like Zoom, or whatever you use for your online classes, it's probably gonna work. No issues there. So productivity tool, even for if you're doing it for your finances and things like that, as you see here, it will work out. No issues for you there. So social media for your entertainment purposes, video streaming, music, productivity tool for your classroom, work wise. In 2021, in mid 2021, it still gets all of that things done for you, no doubt there. In terms of gaming, you're still able to play pretty much most of the popular games out there. The one thing we do kind of want to note is that if you're looking for a device that can handle heavy graphic games that are meant to play on the console, like PUBG, if you get Call of Duty, or even games that you require lots of graphic and power from it, probably not recommended on the Mini 4, because you'll notice that lag. And we noticed that when we try to play some of the heavier graphic games, but games that are older, that don't really require much going on for it, it probably works pretty fine for it. But heavy graphic games is where the limit kind of comes in, and you might want to reconsider if you're looking at the iPad Mini 4 in 2021. So let's talk about things that we like about the Mini 4 in 2021. Well, one thing we like about the Mini 4 in 2021 is that it has iOS 14, and that's probably the biggest selling point, is that it's able to be updated to the latest version of iOS, and iOS 14 is running. Of course, it is a smaller iPad compared to the other lineup of the iPads. If you're comparing for something that's not huge, because the minis and the minis are the smaller ones. You have the Pro ones, which are really huge, and then you have the Air model, which ones pretty much resemble this, but still with the bigger screen, as you'll notice. All of that, if you're comparing what kind of iPad you want, you don't want a bigger, bulky iPad. The Mini is probably what you're looking at, of course. That could be one of the advantages. You have things like the Touch ID, which the previous generations of the Mini we haven't seen. So that's another positive for the iPad Mini 4. Of course, the iPad Mini 4, if you're comparing it with another iPad, it's comparing to the Air 2. So in that case, it's a good for that. And because of its iOS 14 update, we have multitasking. So in terms of iPad for cost productivity, if you're looking for iPad that gets the latest update but don't want to break a bank buying the new Mini 5 or waiting for a Mini 6, the iPad Mini 4, you can get it half the price, even 1/3 the price on eBay or Amazon per pre-owned device. So those are some of the positives. Things that we don't like about the Mini 4 is that the iPad Mini 4 wasn't refreshed since from 2015 to all the way to 2019 when the Mini 5 came out. So it was like 4 years in between before Apple actually decided to release an update of the mini series that they have. So that's one thing we don't really like. The other thing we don't like, it doesn't support Apple Pencil. So if you're a person that's looking for artwork or to do design and things like that, video editing as well, probably wouldn't recommend this iPad for things like that. So it doesn't have that support. And the other thing is the camera. We talked about the front-facing camera being only a 1.2 megapixel camera. So that's a disadvantage, we say, about the Mini 4. Aside all that, there's also the other thing that you want to talk about is the storage capacity. Here, as you can see, for a Mini 4 at 16 gig, it's the base model you get, and that's the starting price, which surprisingly, if you look at to get the most you can get in terms of storage is 128 gig, which is the base model of most of the other iPad Mini today that's launched. Even the iPhone 12 Pro starts at 128 gig. So the base model, the storage seems to be a limitation because you're only able to get that much unless you're getting iCloud storage. So storage wise doesn't seem a lot. So that's another disadvantage of the Mini 4. Overall, our verdict is that the iPad mini 4 in 2021 still gets the job done for the most part for your entertainment purposes, for educational purposes, your work related stuff, light gaming to casual gaming, not on the heavier side. And if you're looking for a device that's going to be relevant still in 2021, it gets the job done at a fraction of the cost, probably be somewhat relevant in 2022. So 1 to 2 year of life on it left. It's probably going to get the security updates in the next 2 to 3 years. But if you're looking for a device to last you maybe 3 plus more years, the iPad mini 4 isn't going to be something that you want to look at. You probably want to look at waiting for even the 6 if it comes out, or if you really need an iPad, get the mini 5 for that purposes. If you're looking for an iPad that will last you at least another 3 to 5 years is what you look at least 3 years, we would say. So that's our fair review of the iPad mini 4 in 2021. Hopefully it was helpful. Want to hear from you guys. If you guys have used the iPad mini 4 or looking to buy it, leave a comment in the comment section with your thoughts and any comments that you have. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.